Hey cats, it's your midsole man EDDBUD here. A rundown today with some detailed comparisons up against Nike's new daily driver easy pace shoe, that max cushion joint, the Vomero 18. How does it hold up against the Brooks Glycerin Max, the Asics Gel Nimbus 27 and the Puma Magmax Nitro? Which one should you buy if you want a max cushion daily option? Let's find out. Thanks for joining me on the channel, people. It is always appreciated. We're close to getting to 60,000 subscribers now, and I want to say a big thanks to you all. If you're tuning in on a regular basis or just every now and then, thank you. Do drop us a comment below and also hit that like button too. Dankeschön. Stats at first, the numbers you can see all for my own pair of the shoes, a size 11 UK or a US 12. The first thing that leaps out here with this almost facsimile photocopy cookie cutter aspect, they're almost all the same really. The width pretty similar, weight's very similar here too, a few grams in it here and there. The stacks also very close. Though one big one that is obviously going to make a difference, the Nike shoes coming in about 35 to 40 quid cheaper than any of the others. That's very aggressive pricing from the swoosh, you have to say. Nike seem to want to impose themselves here on the max cushion market with an option that's widely available and does a lot of the things that the others do, but with a slightly angrier 10mm drop. So first up, what are the differences between the Vomero 18 and the Asics Gel Nimbus 27? Gotta say, I do prefer the slightly more conservative drop in the Asics shoe over the Nike. That's very much personal preference, but it just feels a little bit less aggressive, and you don't want a really aggressive drop when you're just doing daily sessions, right? Just feels a little more natural to me, this one, as a running shoe. Just easy paces. I mean, the weights are pretty similar here between the two. When you put it into perspective though, each of these is 120 grams heavier per shoe, right, than the Endorphin Elite 2. And I mean, that is quite noticeable on foot. If you run a couple of miles in this one and then throw on a race shoe, those super shoes feel really light, like they're barely even there. You do feel like you've got kind of like weights on your feet when you're wearing these, and I guess that's okay, you know, when you're training. The denser, slightly firmer Flight Foam Blast Plus Eco here. It's a good durable foam, and it's also coupled with that pure gel section in the heel as well. It just feels a little bit more consistent and stable over the Vomero 18 to me. Don't get me wrong, this one's really nicely cushioned, but I just can't get on with that drop. The upper here is just on the right lines of being plush, but not overtly so. Quite a bit of padding here in the Vomero 18, in the heel and on the tongue. Just a slightly less present upper design here. It feels like the balance of the shoe, the midsole and outsole, are the chief concerns, and the upper just kind of is slightly less in the mix. Now, I do like the outsole on both of these shoes. There's some good lug depth on the Vomero 18, certainly in the forefoot and the heel. Asics have improved the outsole in the Nimbus 27 this time round. A few more ridges there. It just gives a slightly better grip on different types of terrain than the previous version did. It was a little bit slippery, that one. So I would suggest both of these are good options for those sort of easy day recovery type sessions, but the drop on the Nimbus just stays out of the way of my stride a little bit more. So if I had to pick one out of these two, even though it's more expensive, it would have to be the slightly more predictable Nimbus 27. What we got next? Okay, this time up against the MAGMAX Nitro from Puma. So at least on paper, there's a little less padding here again in the Puma shoe. A slightly more stable heel counter as well. Both of these are above 40mm in terms of the stack, though a slightly lower drop in the Puma shoe. But in reality, to me, both of these feel quite similar on foot. I got some hip pain in both of these shoes, and I was trying to figure out, you know, why is that? Kind of put me off, actually, max cushion shoes for a long time. I really wanted to like this one, but I just couldn't make it work for me. Just felt like I was having to run in a way that the shoe wanted me to, rather than the way I wanted to. And to me, that is always a way towards injury. When I think to the Invincible run, that's a shoe that just allowed me to run however I wanted, whatever pace I wanted, So I'm kind of a little bit upset that that one might be on the way out and Nike is shelving it. This time out, the Puma feels a little bit denser, you know, only a touch, a little bit more focused to easy and recovery paces for me, this shoe, than perhaps the Vomero. And there's an even wider base underfoot in the MAGMAX Nitro than the Vomero, and this one is very wide. It's also about 35 quid more expensive at retail. I did notice on a quick search that there are quite a number of these on discount right now. When we are talking about the outsole, I think they're pretty similar. I do like Puma grip. It is very, very durable. It does last the test of time. But again, I think it's down to upper preference really, and I do prefer the MAGMAX in that aspect. I think this one might work a little bit better for people that are running in warmer climates. It's just a little bit less there on the tongue and in the toe box. Quite a bit of dense double layer padding here, right through to the toe box in fact. So if you are running in warmer temperatures, do take that into account. Both are a little bit controlling in terms of foot strike for me. And I mean, you can't tell me that people are buying these shoes, these max cushion offerings, and they're running on the forefoot. I mean, what is the point of that? I think they're putting all this cushion back here in the heel, you know, like 48 mil in my size, right? If you're not landing in it, then what is the point of having these? If it's down to performance at cost, then I think you've got to go with the Vomero on this one. It's a cheaper implementation of the same idea at 170 quid with only Nitro in the midsole this time. With this level of weight, it just seems like a slightly odd choice. I was always a bit amazed they didn't include some Nitro Elite, perhaps even in the forefoot, just to give it a bit more spring. At least the Vomero is a little bit closer to a sort of daily shoe price. Right, what have we got next? Last one up today is the Brooks Glycerin Max. Now, this one's got a very different midsole setup to the Nike shoe. It's that DNA tuned stuff where you've got two types of foam, but they're kind of integrated together, so it's like one unit. Mega squashy inner core. I really like this shoe. This has got the balance that I'm looking for when I'm thinking about the stack height, the drop, the amount of cushion on offer. It's a perfect easy to recovery day shoe for me. The stack here, the drop isn't quite so aggressive in the Brooks, lends itself slightly towards a midfoot landing where I can just roll off there. Nice rounded toe on this one. I actually really like the way it looks as well. It looks $1,000,000. Padding mainly concentrated on the tongue there with a reasonable amount in the heel, but it just sort of stays out the way of my foot strike really. Just feels like I got lots of flexibility. Don't feel that in the Vomero. It just feels like it wants to make me run in a certain way, and if I don't, then it just hurts my hips. So on paper, these seem very similar really. They're quite close, but when you take it down to the midsole tech, I think that's where the Brooks wins out for me. Though saying that, there's very few of these on discount right now. You're going to have to pay the max amount, I guess a max cushion shoe. Jokes aside though, it's still quite a pricey one, especially for an easy or recovery day option. But strangely, these two feel very different actually. On foot. Don't notice the weight quite so much in the Brooks shoe either. So if I had to go for one out of the two, it would have to be the Brooks Glycerin Max on this occasion. Okay, that's all my comparisons for the time being. I mean, these are pretty close, right? But I can see why Nike have placed this shoe at the amount that it is. 135 makes it that bit more attractive. People might be willing to, you know, gamble a little bit and have a go with the Vomero 18. Let me know your thoughts and opinions and experiences in this shoe down in the comments. Let me know if I'm wrong. I've been wrong before. Ask my wife. Quick musical interlude for you. Where I've been out running recently, I've been going with AC/DC, an album that was actually released even before I was born, 1977. It's Let There Be Rock. I absolutely love all the tracks on this album, but my favourite is track 2, Dog Eat Dog. The intro alone is just absolutely fantastic. One of those tunes where there's a call to arms, the guitars, the drums and bass all kind of slamming in with a very memorable introductory riff, and then the tom drum rhythm during the verses is just pure gold. It's just energy. So if you're doing those faster sessions and you need something to propel you along, go for Angus and Malcolm because they'll do the trick. And then finally, when they let Angus off the leash unleash for his solo is just pure gold. I mean, when it comes to rock, people say hard rock and all that, but it's just rock at the end of the day, isn't it? When it comes to that type of music, that genre, then it doesn't get much better than this, guys. Go and check it out. Dog Eat Dog by AC/DC. Thanks for tuning in, people. Hope you enjoyed today's comparison. Remember, if you haven't done so already, hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up like too. Drop us a comment to help with the algorithm. My name's EDDBUD, and I'll be seeing you